Hello, it is I, Bragi. Thought I'd do a afternoon live stream with my non-authentic glass. Anybody out there? This is Bragi the Viking. How are you? Oh, we've got somebody watching. I hope it's not me on my computer. How are you? Leave a comment. Who are you? It is I, Bragi. I thought I'd try an afternoon live stream for a couple of hours. See how everybody's coping in the old COVID-19 lockdown. Are they slowly? We're getting out of it. Now, if you can share this with all your friends. Eirik, man of many axes. And how are you, Eirik Rickardson? My very good brother and fellow Viking. Good day. I'll leave a message. Hang on a minute whilst I bend down. Doing type in the old phone. Hello. So I don't really have a plan. Let me know what you want me to do in this live stream. Perhaps we can just talk about what's been going on in the world. How are you coping in COVID-19? I think we're slowly getting out of it. That's good news. I heard from Egil today. He's doing okay. He's in lockdown himself. He's not over 70 though, but he's just trying to be safe. I think it's a wise thing to do during these times. What's the brightness like? Is it too bright in here? Let me know. So just looking at the screen. Let's just turn this light off. It's reflecting in my eyes a bit better. Problem is, I've got a big window in this room, and when it shines the sun, it's really bright in my eyes. Oh, so Eirik, the man of many actors, says, I'm very well, brother. Got some lovely linen ordered for a new homemade undertunic. That's my lockdown. Well, yes, I will send you a make it up pattern, so you know you got something to work from. And they're fairly easy to make. And I take it you're going to hand sew it. So double thread it, of course. There's no point doing a single thread along a seam when you may want to double thread it. I mean, it makes sense, and it will also guarantee a much stronger tunic, and it won't start splitting or causing you problems 5 years down the line. After all, you know, you're going to make one of these or an under tunic. I got one on under here, my yellow one. It makes sense to double thread. So remind me, I'll draw it up. I'd imagine you're about my size. Egil's a bit bigger than me, so I made his tunic a little bit larger. So I've not done much sewing the last few weeks. So I've been sewing in the lockdown. I've made so far 2 under tunics, and I got 2 more ready to go, made out of a white linen sheet, which was damaged in the middle, so it was either going to go in the bin or make an under tunic out of it. Seems to have gone dark in the picture. Perhaps it's just me. So Eirik says, that's wool most needed. It will be hand sewn as machines are the devil. Haha. Indeed, it's far better to hand sew these things, in my opinion. And I think you feel much better afterwards, knowing that you've hand sewn a tunic rather than machine sewn it, which a lot of modern Viking kit is machine sewn and hand finished. I mean, if you've got to like knock a tunic out, you know, in a day, then sometimes machine sewing them are quicker. But in my mind, I like to take time and sew by hand. And I am still building up to do some sewing on camera. I've got a new care package starting soon, which will mean I'll be able to start live streaming a bit early in the evening. I've adjusted the time for that because momentarily I can only start live streaming in the evening. And I may want to do tonight if you guys want one. So let me know in your comments if you want to see Bragi do a live stream from about 10:30 tonight. But it means I'll be able to start about 9:15 and 9:30 in the future, which I think is going to be much better. So, and then when I get the care package sorted and in place, then I'll be able to advertise and start doing a bit of sewing in the afternoon, which is when I plan to do it, rather than late at night. And I'll have to somehow sit down and sew. It's a bit difficult to sew with a board. I like to have a sewing board to sew on. I also think it's better to have a board to sew on rather than sewing on your lap, because then you're not going to accidentally sew your trousers to your tunic. And you know, you imagine that would have been a common practice in the Dark Ages, having something to sew on. Of course, they would have had tables in the longhouse and poor light, of course. So what else does Eirik say? Yes, I can image linen frays a little, so I need to prevent that. Any ideas? Well, it's yet again when you... Let me just get my under tunic. Hang on. Hang on a minute. I'm coming back. I'm not going to abandon you on a live stream without a braggy. So this is one I've been making. So what he's on about is at the end. So to stop a fray from happening, you really got to go over twice. I think these are the bits where you want the thread to be the most strongest, and you're always going to get the frays at the end of the cuffs and on the bottom. So long as you do a really good sewing, and it's worthwhile going over 2 or 3 times, I think. Your main body doesn't need to be gone over more than twice. You know, that will give you that reassurance that you're not going to have frays and you're not going to have splits happening down here, because that will happen if you only do a single sew and you don't sew it enough. So spend a bit more time and go over it. And of course, this is the thing you can do on camp. You can get out and tune it, put it inside out, and just start sewing away just to patch it up and guarantee you're going to have a good strong tunic. And the other place you want to make sure you sew nicely and firmly is around the armpit, because often a hole will develop there and on the gusset on a pair of trousers, which I don't have any trousers at hand. So that's a few little hints and tips. Now, some people say you should pre-wax the thread. I use a linen thread. You can often find linen threads in charter shops, or in America or Australia there'll be thrift stores. And often vintage thread is the best. Just make sure you try to put it beforehand and make sure it's strong. Because you don't want to go and spend, you know, £5 on a load of threads and find the threads are actually knackered and tear apart easily. Although if you do have that happen and you do buy some, waxing the thread up will add more strength. So I'm not quite finished yet. This yet. Sorry, I can't speak there. So it's getting there. I've got to get back onto it. So Ivik says, starts the chant, we need some sewing. We need some sewing, haha. Indeed. As soon as I can get steady with the new care package, which starts next week from my father, Magnar, then that will give me the ability to start advertising the sewing in advance. And I've got a little bit of preparation to need. I need to make a list of what you guys are going to need, because the idea concept of this video, or it may be a couple of live streams, is to get you to sew with me. And then when the video's gone public afterwards, then you can also sew along to the live stream, or in this case the video that's been published, and I'll give you a list of what you're going to need, like pins, a good needle. Always make sure you use a sharp needle. If you are going to wax the thread up, some good beeswax, a yellow beeswax is best rather than a white beeswax, because that's more modern. But you know, if you haven't got no yellow beeswax, then a white candle will do. But you can always just have a look in your area and find local beekeepers. It's a good hint, this is. Local beekeepers will always sell you a bit of wax. You know, it may cost you a few pounds, but you can normally get a couple of kilos of wax, and then you've got enough for a few years. And you know, you can even think about making your own mixture for waxing your leather jerkins and waxing your scabbards. So Ivik, that has calmed my nerves a little. I'm going for a burnt orange body with a mustard yellow cuffs and collar. Yeah, I'm not quite decided about this one. Originally I was going to keep it all the same colour, but I might do a separate neckline like this neckline and add it. But I don't know. I've got some nice blue linen on the wall. You can just quite see in the corner the colour of it. So I may do that one next. But how much did you pay for your linen by Pure Meter? I'll be very curious to know what you paid. I was looking on eBay the other day for linen. And there is quite a good choice. Though a lot of it's more modern, and you've got to make sure it's not mixed with cotton, because that won't be authentic. Cotton didn't come around until the 16th century when Columbus brought it back. So I know you do see a lot of modern Viking clothes for sale which are made from cotton. It kind of, you know, goes beyond my head really. Why would you want to buy a cotton undertunic? So let's throw that over there. Now I can demonstrate this now. I've actually put a brooch on this cloak. I know I sent an Instagram picture on this when I was making it, so bear with me whilst I take my hat off. This is more of an Iron Age cloak, but you will get away with the Dark Age with this pattern of material. So what do you think, Ivik? I think it's quite cool and nice. And I use a white linen on the inside, so I can reverse it as well. Now, a good tip I often find when you're putting your brooch through, so you see I got a brooch, is try to keep the same holes and go around with some thread. So you know where your holes are all the time, and you're not going to keep poking more holes in it. And that's a real good idea to do, really. So just do a buttonhole threading around the hole and stick to the same holes all the time. Although it's a bit too warm today to wear a cloak in here. It's quite a nice warm day. And I was thinking about trying a live stream outside. I think we may have the internet reach to go outside and do one. So I think that would be quite cool. So let me take that off. So give you a little view of the old brooch. It's about the most Iron Age brooch I got at the moment. I think it was £5 or £6 off eBay, second hand. So it's a bit like a live stream hangout with Eirik. As I put my hat back on. And I'm making another one of these hats. These are made out of 4/4 panels. Although I did make one out of some sheepskin with the fur on the inside, but it was so big it could fit a giant. So I got to really think about, do I unstitch the 4 panels and do 10 hours work, or do I just get the back panel and adjust it to suit and have it slightly smaller at the back, which you're not going to fundamentally see, but in my mind, it makes you think, what would they do? If they made a hat was too big, would they take it all apart, or would they just try to adjust it to suit your head? I'm still thinking about that. So Eirik says that cloak is amazing. It sure is. I've had that material for years, so it's a good Irish linen. I've had it on the wall a few times, and I've used it as a cloak, as the old material is to double it over. So, but I've always wanted to make a cloak out of it, and I managed to get a pair of trousers out of it, and a couple of hats, and also some leg bindings. So, got a comment here from Alexander Summers. Hello, well, hello to you. This is just an impromptu live stream for a couple hours. I'm going to have to finish about half-5, but if you do want to see me tonight, I think I've got the energy. I'm not too tired. I've been very tired the last few weeks, and I was that tired last night. I went to bed at 8, which is unusual for me. I slept like a log, and then woke up about 1:30. But then I couldn't decide what to do, so I thought I'll watch the Goonies. It was on TV, and kind of brought me back to the 80s. I used to love that film, I still do. You know, Goonies never say die, do they? So, but it does make you think, where does the term Goonie come from? So Eirik says, greetings to Alex Summers, who is my baby brother. Aha, well, you got a great big brother. I hope he looks after you. And welcome to the channel, Alexander Summers. Make sure you're subscribed. Of course, if you subscribe to the channel and your subscription status is private, then I don't see your name. I only see names of people who subscribe who are public on their subscription status. Oh, I've got 4 people watching now. So we're currently in 720p, so I hope the quality is okay. I must get used to standing back more and not getting too close to the camera, though I can just about read the comments from here. So I've got to figure out some way of having another screen, a bigger screen, maybe my tablet, if I can find a holder for that, and I could see the comments from that, and then not have to keep going close up and bending down, which is not going to do my back any good. Yes, one of the problems as a Viking, you do suffer with a bad back if you've been running around the battlefield wearing mail and lots of equipment. It does get to your back after a while. So thank you. And he's all right, yes, good. He's been a great brother to me. So I love him to bits. I love all you guys to bits. And ladies, of course. Who doesn't love a good lady? Moving on from that one, rather promptly. So I got no set plan. I thought we'd talk about COVID-19, how you're coping in the lockdown. You know, I think we're all slowly getting out of it. I think Egil texted me the other day and he said, you know, he's beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And it doesn't mean he's having a near-death experience. I mean, he is old, but I think that's good. So Andrew Kincaid says, I'm just getting ready for work, but it's good indeed to see thee. Oh, and good to see you too, Andrew. And I may do a late live stream tonight. I think I've got the energy. And do a late one for 3 or 4 hours again. As we're trying to boost the watch time on the channel to get to those magic 4,000 hours, which we're very slowly achieving. I think we're about just over 1,000 hours away now. We've got the subs, so that'll be good. But it takes an awful long time to get there. I see the strong arm emoji. I'm very slowly getting used to emojis, and this phone's quite good actually, my new phone, because I can just put a word in and it picks the emoji up. So if I type in beer, it'll show me a glass of beer. And if I type in beers, it shows me 2 glasses of beers chunked together. But it doesn't recognise ale or cider. So let's have a drink. I'm drinking some Ribena, or equivalent of. It's too early for a drink. I had a nice book in the post today. One of my favourite sagas, Egil's Saga. Now, I actually bought this twice. I gave my first copy to Egil, being it's his namesake. And I'm trying to encourage him to learn each chapter, and so we can record each chapter and actually one day publish the whole lot, maybe in one go, or do it over a few months. So, but it does take time to encourage him. And he's going to need what we call idiot boards, where I write down the long, complicated names, because I can guarantee you Egil won't remember them. So, but it is a fantastic saga. Now, there is another Penguin book. It's called Romantic Viking Sagas, or Romantic Viking Stories. I'll have to try and dig my copy out, and I do recommend you buy that book, because those saga stories in that book are awesome. If I remember, I'll look for it tonight. So we've got 5 people watching. That's great. I don't know how this will go on a Friday afternoon. Is it Friday? Yes, it is. I mean, that's the problem with the lockdown. You forget what day it is. I mean, I forget what day is it as it goes. Every day is the same for me. You know, I get up, I care for my dad, I go to bed. Sometimes, you know, I do work on my videos in between. So, Andrew Kinsai, I must put out your name right. I need glasses. Kincaid Hale Iwick. Yes, I do wear glasses for reading, but I don't like to wear them on camera. But I sometimes encourage Egil to wear them in the live stream, because he can't see all without glasses. And it must be a struggle when he's got an idiot board and he's telling a folk tale and he struggles to see. So some days you'll see him leaning forward and trying to pierce into the piece of paper with names on. Though what I don't like is when he gets the piece of paper and he shows you on camera the piece of paper and he reads from it. He's done that a couple of times and I don't like that. So, so Andrew says, what hast thou planned for the weekend? So I think it's going to be a nice weekend. I will probably go in the garden tomorrow with my father Magnar. I got some more plants for him to pot up and some plant pots to weed. I don't need to mow the lawn, thankfully. I've got a big lawn, so that's okay. And I planted some potatoes yesterday, so I really must go out and water them today or tomorrow to make sure that they don't die. And I'm working on a greenhouse. We've got a greenhouse in the garden, so I'm slowly taking all the plants out and going to weed kill the bottom and put all the sand back in. But it's been a long job, and I'm not really used to growing plants. I've got some tomatoes on the go from my dad, so I've got to plant them as well. So a bit of gardening. I'm going to work on some more video content. I may publish another combat, or not a combat video, but another weapons video. It'll probably be one of the videos that comparing the axe to the day in axe, or maybe the I've done a few videos of Egil where I've had him compare weapons. And we had one out at the weekend, which I've had to slightly change the title of, because originally that video could have been called Langsats versus Sword, but towards the end he brought a scram into it, so I kind of renamed it Langsats Sword and Siax. But I will make him film that video again where he compares a Viking sword to a Langsats. And I think this time I won't choose a Viking Norwegian Langsats. I'll go with a more Saxon or basic Viking one, which is not too swordy looking. So yeah, what about Sunday? Well, maybe if it's nice again, I'll go in the garden. It's nice to get out. You know, some days you get stuck in your house during the lockdown, and as a carer I'm stuck at home most of the time, so I literally have 3 afternoons a week I can leave the house. So 15 hours is not a lot in a week, is it, to be able to leave and do things. So, and I'm planting some big troughs up. We've got some big stone troughs, so I'm planting them up with wildflowers. But it does make you think, you know, would Vikings and Saxons do gardening? And I know if you type in Viking gardening Denmark, there is a paper that talks about it from a scientific point of view and archaeological point of view, and it is very interesting that yes, they did actually have small gardens. Not the kind of garden we think as a garden, because gardens today are more decorational, more for show. But they would have had small enclosures where they would have known what plants to gather from the bushes and the hedgerows, and then they would have known that they could have given medicine. You know, if you've got a headache, you go and take a bit of this plant, or you're trying to season your food. So they was very clever in that aspect, and I think that would have been a common practice. But unfortunately, because of the archaeology, we don't often see that in the archaeology, and it's only now being more apparent that that happened. So, yes. So Andrew says that I am the one who inquired about Siat's typology names. Yes, because Egil talked about the British sax, which is a term I've never actually used. As I did type and send him a text about it so he could explain where it came from, and it was a term used in the York group in the 1980s and the 90s. Now, whether that's a re-enactorism, so it came about through re-enacting that the British sax was used, I don't know. But I can't find no context when you do a search on Google for British sax. There's no results at all. So in my mind, I think it must be a modern re-enactorism. But I'm very interested to find out if anybody does know the actual use of the term Britta. I mean, does it mean British lang sax? I thought about that. And then somebody, I think maybe you compared it to Gritter's Sagas, because in the 17th century there was an illustration showing a Viking with a lang sax. So could it derive from that? I don't think it did. In my mind, I think it's a modern re-enactorism. We should just call a lang sax, a long knife. But it's also a bit like the use scram sax or scrammer sax. Wound knife. I think there's only 1 or 2 instances in history where that's been written down. So again, it was very commonly used in reenactment in the 90s. You know, everybody would call one of these a scram sax, but it really shouldn't be used too much, and it should be just called a sax. But I have talked about Egil doing a video on the etymology of the words sax, and I think that would make a very interesting video. And we'll compare and talk about the word lang sax and sax itself. I mean, we all know sax came from the Anglo Saxon people from Germany and upper Frisia and around that area. So leave it with me. I got it down on I've got loads of boards in this room on the wall where I got all the video ideas, and I tend to also have all the ideas on my tablet on note form as well, so that I doubled up. It is in one of the lists about weapons, about covering the names, because I think that would make interesting content. I don't think it'll be a long video. I may do it as part of the 2-minute history videos, which I've still got to get back to do. But with the lockdown and with what I've been going through, I just had to put a hold on that series, and I've still got some more videos to edit for that. So we've got 6 people watching. Oh yes, that's a great number in the Viking world. Can we get to 9? Of course, that's 5 in my hand. Anyway, go back to some more of these comments. I do love reading the comments. So, oh, wait a minute, what I've done there? I've done something weird. I put a hello again to get out of it. I'm still getting used to this app. I've used an app called Streamlabs. So if you've got a YouTube channel and you're not qualified to live stream, you can just download Streamlabs. There's quite a few others as well, but that's the one I like to use the most because it's one of the best ones out there. And then you can just log in with your login details of YouTube and just bypass YouTube ability not to live stream, which is great for channels like us because we do need to live stream, and it's also a good way for you guys to interact, because I think you want the interaction, especially live. It's okay watching the videos and waiting for the notification to say, oh look, Bragi's published a video, but you can't beat interaction. So I'm making my scabbard or sheath for my sword soon. Just waiting for the leather, laughs out loud. I've got tons of leather in here. I've probably got about 5 or 6 cows worth of leather. I really do. I mean, I bought lots of leather back in the early 2000s and I never really used it. But somewhere I got a couple of scabbards for swords and never finished, so I got to look for them. So are you going to engrave onto the scabbard? I mean, that's a fascinating thing. I think it's far more easy to engrave and carve leather when it's flat rather than after you made a scabbard. Is my number 1 tip. And then just go around, use a pencil and pen, put the pattern on. Now you have done some very nice carvings on your axe handles using one of those, what do you call that pen where it heats wood up and to make markings? I think there's a word for that, but I can't think of it right now. But if anybody ever needs any kind of designs for axe handles or for your sword scabbard, then just send me a link. I've got loads of books I can take photographs of, and in fact I found another one the other day of the Viking designs. So I'm going to take some more pictures of them for you, Eirik, so you can get that on. So what have you guys got planned for the weekend? I'd love to know. And what are you drinking right now? I've just got some cheap kind of a Ribena drink. I do have a bottle of cider in here, but I was going to do a live stream on Wednesday, but By the time the carer came, it was like 10:30, and I thought, well, you know, I was quite tired. This is one of the problems when you're a full-time carer. It does at times tire you out, not physically, but also mentally, and you just need to go and do nothing and just lie and sleep for a good time. And I suffer from terrible insomnia. I mean, makes you think, how would a Viking cope with insomnia? He probably would have sat round his hearth, his fire, and drank more beer, because beer does put you to sleep. Although some people say it doesn't, it's actually bad for you. If you've got a sleeping problem, don't drink alcohol. But you have a few pints of bitter, then you certainly feel drowsy, and I think you sleep better. And scabbards are very interesting things, you know. Very old. I mean, there must be some scabbards around here somewhere. It is one. I think about redoing this one. This is where I got rid of the Sagas I bought off eBay. But I don't quite like how I've not put copper on the top. Normally on the scabbard, if you see this one here, the stand up, you can just see I got some copper or brass along the top. And if you don't have any copper or brass, just walk along and find a skip. You can normally find a bit of copper piping, and then you just flatten the piping and then cut along one edge, either with a saw or a grinder, and then you basically got that flat section to put on top of your scabbard. And it's worthwhile doing that. I think it makes for a better scabbard in my mind. And I've got a few scabbards to finish off myself, but I was going to attempt carving. Not something I've really done a lot of in my past, carving leather. But so far, I've not really built up the confidence to do it. Because a lot of these things you make, you do need to have the confidence to sew something, you know, whether it's an under-tunic or, I mean, hats are dead easy to sew. But you will make mistakes, and that's how you learn. When you sew a hat, it's too big, you learn, alright, this time I'll adjust the pattern, make it suit, and that's how you learn. You know, if you always sew something bigger, you can always make it smaller. But if you make something smaller, you can't make it bigger. So, you know, measure twice and cut once. I know it's an old sewing saying, but it does make sense. And it must be a very old saying. Because, you know, there'll be old Olaf in his longhouse, and he's getting ready to make a hat, and his wife comes along, his wife in Saxon, saying, oh, that's too small, make it bigger, or else you're going to make a mistake. And, you know, if you've not made a mistake in life, you've not done nothing, in my mind, as I adjust my hat. So, any more comments? Yeah, what are you guys doing at the weekend? Anything nice? So Andrew says, I'm too sexy for this ship. I'm definitely too sexy for this tunic. But it hurts. Yes, I thought about doing a version of that. Sometimes I get the idea of doing parody songs, and I could get Egil singing, I'm too sexy for my shirt, or skirtle. But I don't think you'll see Egil doing some singing on camera. It will probably hurt you guys too much to hear him sing. And so Andrew says, they also theorised it was brecker sax. Brecker is the Anglo Saxon for broken. So know how they call it a broken back sax. Well, yeah, that does make sense. And I've got a knife here. This is another sax, one of my favourites. And that used to be a lang sax. So originally this would have been a much longer blade. A real nice long blade. And at some point it broke in half. So it was reworked into a new knife. So perhaps that's one explanation of it. It's a good eating knife, but it is sharp. So don't take it out when you're doing combat. It's a bad thing to take out a sharp knife. And if you're in a main big society like Bragi Anglo or the Vikings, you will be pulled up for that and told off severely. So, you know, I forget you can scroll down these comments. Oops, says Andrew. And Iric says, I may engrave a design with the wooden burner. Maybe it's called a pyro pen. Aha, yeah, it could be. I need to get a new one. I think mine came from Germany, but I think the thread is damaged where you put the ends in, and it's difficult to put the attachments in. But it makes you think, how would they have done that? They probably would have heated the knife up in the fire and then gone round. That's, you know, that's one way of doing it. Or perhaps even so they would have gone to the smith, or if they're on a farmstead, they probably had a forge and they would have heated up and made a small tool for it. I mean, these are things we don't often find. And, you know, often you find something in archaeology, they just can't decide what it is. But it does make you think, but where did they get the designs from? I mean, a lot of them, they would have got them from their head or seen something. I mean, we're lucky we can just type in Viking designs in Google and you'd have so many, but how do you know what's authentic? And there are some very good books out there as well. I think if you go to my Instagram page, just type in Bragi_Magnarsson, you'll see a very good book. I put some pictures up of Viking and Celtic designs, and they are wonderful. And because we often forget, you know, the Dark Ages was very colourful. It wasn't dull, you know, like we think it is. We often think, well, you know, they had dull, boring colours, but no, it was very colourful. I mean, you can just tell from my undertunic, you know, that's yellow of some nice material. You know, it shows my wealth, but also shows how colourful the Dark Ages were. But naturally, you was governed by the dyes that were available at the time. And I've still yet to find my book on medieval dyeing, because I wouldn't mind having a go. But I was thinking about it the other day about tie-dyeing and how old that is. You know, I don't think it's anything that came to Europe. It's much more of an Asian thing. I never tried it myself, and I mean, it'd be a crazy idea to get a plain white undertunic and tie-dye it. You would look a bit of a plonker, and no doubt be pulled up on that. But yeah, again, it's a very old thing. Yeah, so I keep meaning to actually text Egil Thorsson about the word Britasax, because I've got a feeling he would know. He's an expert in all these things, but he's been a bit stressed recently with his job, and he's been worried about, you know, being furloughed. So I'm trying not to ask him too many questions. But I don't know if he gets slightly annoyed with the fact that he left the channel and he's not on the channel at the moment. But I think eventually we will try to get him back on the channel. I mean, Egil knows he's always welcome to come back, and you know, he could just stand and film half a dozen videos on historical concepts and your guys' minds would be blown. You know, he's been doing it for so many years. Egil was one of the first people who had a business called Invaders Workshop, and in the 1980s he was going around the schools demonstrating to talk about Viking life. So he was one of the forerunners in that. So, you know, he's got over 35 years experience talking to people about Viking life. So I think when the channel pays, then you'll see him back, because he'll have an incentive. Yes, so Ivik says this furlough businesses is a stress and a half. Yes, I mean, I'm not furloughed. I mean, I'm not really making any money anyway. I'm being self-employed. I'm making a loss each year because I've got a blacksmith workshop where I got 3 forges, and I can't really go up and use it because I'm stuck at home caring for my dad all the time, and you know, it's a weight around my shoulders. But at the same time, I don't want to give the place up because it's on a nice country estate, and the country estate goes back 1,000 years, and the same family. And it's going to be a great location to film on. Now, the other day I posted 2 videos on Reddit. I've actually got enough points in the point system where I can post things without being objected. And I had a guy from Derby, he was a filmmaker, contact me saying how much he liked the channel, and he wants to come and do some filming for us. And he wants to try to emulate, have you guys seen the channel Modern History TV? I'll type it in if you Google it when I finish this. But he wants to kind of emulate the kind of content he does with the content we do, and try to copy what he's doing on this channel, because it would help me to have somebody to film the content in the long run, because I don't want to be, you know, behind the camera and in front of the camera and being the director and producing the video and doing the research and editing the video and doing the metadata, although some of that I'll have to do. But if I can, you know, delegate some of those jobs to other people, then that'd be great. So I am talking to him about filming some content with us, and he seems to be very interesting. I'm just waiting to get back from him. I sent him a detailed message about the way we film. We do have a professional setup, and I've had to invest a few £1,000s to get to this stage already on the channel, because I couldn't really rely on an old mobile phone. When we first started the channel, we had a Samsung S2, which was my old Samsung. Although, if you look at the videos from Egil and some of my early videos, you see that camera had a focus error. So it would just try to refocus every minute and step in and step out again. But then we were very kindly given a camera by Anthony, one of Egil's friends, who gave us a Samsung S6, and that kind of got rid of that problem. And the camera was good enough for us to film on, but yet still I wanted to have a decent digital SLR. So in the end I invested in a Panasonic Lumix G80, which we do most of the filming on. But of course I've had to upgrade and get a contract on my mobile phone for this one we're using now to give us the ability to live stream, because that Samsung S6 doesn't really give this good enough quality for live streaming. The last one we did was 7 or 8 months ago, and the quality was so poor. But now I'm really impressed by this camera, and I hope you guys too. Yeah, so if you type in Modern History TV, you'll see a very professional setup. I mean, I think he must have a production team on his videos, and we do want to try to work on some of our content to get to that kind of a level in the future. I mean, I would struggle myself to do that, but I think having somebody working on the channel with the incentive that, you know, they get a paid job out of it in the future, because naturally I want to be paid for some of my work, but it's not all about money. You know, it's about, for me, it's always been about legacy and giving you guys good information, because I did see a massive gap in the market for good Viking context, and it didn't really make sense for us to wear modern clothing and not be in a kind of a period setup, which is all this is about. I mean, I do have to sacrifice all my wardrobes, which will be down there, with a lot of my clothes and my dad's clothes in. So whenever I need to go and get a jacket out, I've got to dismantle all that. It's a pain in the backside, pardon my French. But you know, you just adapt around these things. Adapt, not adopt. Yeah. Some days I just can't speak. Any questions about Viking life? I mean, this is just more a random hangout with you guys. See what you're up to. And how you coping in the lockdown? Are you getting bored at times? It is, you know, I've been getting a bit bored. You can only watch so much TV and do so much sewing. I've actually started painting wargame figures again because I got bored. I thought, well, let's paint up some cavalry from the American War of Independence. I got some British cavalry to do. I got lots of figures for that war. But it's not something I'm ever going to plan to do on the channel. Maybe we may get some Viking armies and we could probably demonstrate some battles, but that'll take more planning, which I don't always have the time to do. And Egil is reluctant to do any work behind the scenes at times. He needs to kick up the arse to say, go on, put some effort in. He often uses the term, I'm eye candy, which I do find a bit frustrating when, you know, I'll be here at home editing videos late night, you know, until 11, 12 o'clock, and he'll be in bed. But that's just the way it goes, and, you know, eventually he'll step up more and do some more research. But he has problems. He doesn't have any internet, so he can't just type in, you know, Anglo Saxon culture and read a load of information. He's got to physically go out to the library, and of course during lockdown you can't exactly do that. So hopefully in a year's time he'll be much better off with his pension and he'll be able to get internet, and then that will help the channel with him be able to go online and read more things, because it's okay having a decent library, but if your library is a bit outdated and your books on Viking and Saxon life date from the 70s and 80s, well, some of that information will be wrong now. You know, they know so much more about Viking and Anglo-Saxon culture than they did in those days. But of course, it's still worth having those books in your library, because some of them, you know, by David Wilson, some of those books are really, really good, you know, but they do get outdated. So let me have a little drink. What are you guys drinking? Are you drinking a nice cup of tea perhaps, or coffee? I've got a bad habit of putting my hand here, and I'll tell you why. Because when I did 19th century re-enacting, I had my bayonet here, and I always used to put my hand on my bayonet to rest it. So I kind of feel like my axe. This is my favourite one. Actually, I started to do a design. It's when Odin, no, it's when Thor went fishing for the Gumengander, but not quite finished it off. Oh, Eirik says, I'm having Red Bull. Ah, yeah, make sure it doesn't give you wings and you fly off, Eirik. As long as your Red Bull doesn't make your helmet have wings, you're all right. Of course, they didn't have wings. A lot of that about the horns and the wings on helmets all came from Wagner in the 19th century, when they had a massive influence on what we think about Vikings. I mean, the music from Wagner is very good, but don't take him as an expert on Viking culture. Yes, you do get these long pauses during these live streams. Anybody else watching wants to leave a comment? If you're new to the channel and you look a bit nervous, just say hello. We don't bite, you know. I won't charge forward with my axe and attack you on camera. You know, we're very friendly. We are a family-friendly channel. Just make sure what time it is. Oh, it's 3:30. So fundamentally, I can go for another 2 hours on this live stream. So, is there anything else you want me to talk about? Perhaps I could. I was thinking the other day. I don't know what you guys think about this. So I was reading Beowulf, and I thought, well, I could never really remember Beowulf, but would you guys like me to read you Beowulf? Would you think that content is lame if I read you a saga? I mean, fair enough, there may be a copyright issue if you're using a modern book. I think copyright comes in 1922. I think anything before that you can read and there's no copyright. And then the next copyright infringement would be, I think, 1967 or 68. If anything in between 1922 and 1968, it's run about that date, is re-copyrighted, then it's got a copyright on it. But a lot of time they did not renew the copyright. So Ivik says, the infamous wings and horns and helmets still gives me chills. I can remember, I'll have to share the photograph of when we did some promotion work for the old Derby group, and I dressed up as a Celt, and TK's got a Celtic helmet with horns. But he recalls the story when you go around the schools and you're bending down. He said he's come close to knocking a couple of teachers out with it, and he says doors are not designed for a Celtic helmet with horns on. And it is a fantastic helmet. I mean, yet again, that is another thing TK could go on about, because he's got a lot of early kit as well from the Roman period. In fact, upstairs in the attic, I got TK's Segmata, Lorica Segmata upstairs, which is a bit too small for me, unfortunately. So, Ivik says, the man of many axes, and you definitely need more than 2 in your collection. I mean, every good Viking should at least carry 2 axes. Sometimes I like to carry mine on this side, but a good way to carry your axe is just to shove it down your belt. Make sure your belt's tight, so you don't fall out when you're running, and then just have an axe. It's very easy to grab and very easy to put back. And, you know, but what I don't really like too much is the metal rings you see. I mean, I think that's a kind of a misuse of metal. It's more of a modern re-enactorism to have a ring, which is normally a ring from, it's used as a horse bit, as the attachment on a harness. I got a couple myself. They're fine, but some days you've got to think to yourself, well, metal was less scarce in those days, so would they have actually gone and made a ring to put your axe in? Plus the other thing, when you keep putting your axe in and out of a metal ring, if it's not smooth, it's going to start damaging and wearing away your shaft. I think more likely to have 2 leather loops and a tighter loop for your axe, and maybe have a thong which they could tie the axe off to stop it from falling out when you're on the march. But it is another interesting concept. How would they have carried their axes? And I do like this method. It's one of my favourite methods. My belt's a bit loose for this. I need to tighten up a couple more notches. And it's definitely worthwhile when you get back to going in battle. Make sure your belts are properly tight. If you can get a couple of hands and it's too loose, the tighter the better on your kit, because then you're not going to have problems with your bolts starting to fall down, because that does happen. And the other one, of course, is your leg bindings. When you attach them around the bottom of your leg, this bottom section always works loose, or your top segment. But I do have an idea of what they may have done to stop that from happening at the bottom, which is by attaching a bit of a loop of wool or leather, and then basically threading through the bottom section. Now when you get your leg binding, I taught this to Egil, so this is one I made. Now I can never understand why people sew them and never sew them up. So you see mine are sewn up. Instead of having a raw material edge, which like a lot of them have on eBay and Amazon, you can buy, which is just basically a length of material. It's a bit cheap and nasty. It's always worthwhile pinning and sewing them up. And then when you roll up your leg bindings, always roll them up inside out. And there's a reason for this, because if you sew it inside out, you can roll it around your leg. But if you roll it up the right way round, you've got to unravel it to get on your leg. So this is as a leather thong on this one, as a location which I've used a little link of mail. And then you'll put this on the outside. So you see this is on the outside of the leg binding, or wingers is my favourite word for them. But there's quite a few actually. Leg binding is a modern re-enactorism, probably from the First World War. I think in World War II, I didn't think soldiers wore leg binding so much. And then you start rolling them up inside out. So, demonstrating this for you. It does make sense. Some people will have a thread, a kind of a twisted thread instead of leather. I tried both. Some people will have some little buckles. I've not tried that method, but I do want to get some for that. So, there's different methods of attaching them to your legs. But my next idea is get some nice fine leather. I've got some behind me. And then I'm going to cut some strips and attach it to the back so that I can actually reverse them for winter. Because I think they would have done that, but I don't think there's any evidence in archaeology yet, because we don't find these really. I mean, some people say that actually they didn't wear leg bindings. But if you've got a pair of baggy trousers, you know, Eastern trousers, you definitely want some leg bindings on them to keep them up. So, very easy to make. You know, that's just a bit of red wool. It's a kind of a madder colour. And, you know, if you buy 3 or 4 metres of wool, you'll get yourself a nice tunic, maybe a cloak, a few hats, maybe a bag, and your leg bindings, your whitingers. I don't often wear them on camera because I think it's impractical, because you don't really see my legs, do you? I mean, I'm not upside down. I don't think I could stand on my arms for long. I've got weak wrists. Now, I just noticed my jewellery here. As a Viking, I should be putting my silverware on. That is a quarter troy weight bracelet. So this would have started as an ingot and slowly got hammered down, and then before they start shaping it, they put a pattern on. So I can put that on. Then this is a find from Lancashire. It's basic ring and dot. Probably one of the most oldest patterns you can find out there. And this just basically shows your currency and your wealth. And you know, you can read accounts in the sagas and in history about warriors having bracelets all the way up their arm, you know, a good 20 or 30 of them. Pick a ring up I dropped. And then these are more modern. These are what you call witches' bangles to protect you from evil. But then again, I would have thought stuff like this would have been around. I mean, I think that must be an old design myself. But I just wear them to keep away evil, keep away Loki. You don't want him coming down and bothering you, do you? I mean, I don't mind being bothered by Thor or Odin, but Loki can stay away. So, I read a comment here. So, Eric says, Beowulf is a brilliant story and is always welcome to be told and heard. Yeah, if I can get Egil to try to remember the story, chapter by chapter. But I think a good way in a live stream would be just to read it to you. But would you guys think that's a bit lame of me and lazy to read you a saga? But I think it would be a good way to get that content on the channel. And also you could have a laugh when I pronounce the names wrong, because some of these names are quite complicated and I've never been brilliant at English in the first place. There's another ring with a kind of a pattern on. I hope you can see that in focus. And then I found a bit of scrap silver. I can't remember, it was a bracelet and I used some of it, and then I had a bit of a strip left and I thought, well, I'll just make a ring and put a ring and dot pattern on it. If you remind me, Eric, I'll make the ring and dot punch. They're not difficult to make. There's a bit of jewellery. So Eric says, I use the axe ring as it's easier for me, haha, but the little one stays touching my belt at the back too. Yeah, that does make sense. I mean, no doubt they would have had rings like that on a bit of leather for your axe. But often these things would have been reused. I mean, metal was scarce, so, you know, if a metal object broke, it would have gone to the smith, or it would have been put into a pile and sold off to be reworked. And the same with silver, you know. But it's interesting how we find, you know, hoards of silver, but we never find hoards of scrap metal often. I mean, no doubt there are, and some finds when the site is used industrially, you know. And I can imagine sites where they've got lots of open buildings and lots of blacksmiths working in one place. I mean, those sites must have been amazing back in the Dark Ages, truly. I mean, they were very skillful. I mean, we think of them as being barbaric and not intelligent, but they was probably more intelligent than us in many ways. So, have I missed any comments? So Eric says, oh, If I fly off them, I will pop in and see Odin. Ha ha ha. Oh yes, you got to go up to go to Valhalla. You don't go down, that's where hell is. Oh no, you don't go down for hell. That's got a special place for oath breakers and liars and cheats and gossipers. It's very interesting how in Viking culture they had these places in hell for such people, because it also shows you the type of character they were. They didn't like lying. They didn't like if you break your oath. Your word was your bond, and it meant so much in that culture, and of course in the Anglo Saxon culture. But the Anglo Saxons were Christianised much earlier than the Vikings, so that must have also had an effect on the way they thought. So Eirik says, "Oh, I've done that thing. I've got to leave a comment to get out of this comment section. Wait a minute. Hang on. I should really get one of those pens to use instead of my fat fingers." We sure did. Because if I figure out I can get my laptop with a signal, I could just use my tablet on me and type messages here instead of going over there. But Eirik says, we had a discussion the other day about repurposing things, and metal was magic in that age, and the way it was made and formed, what it was. But you know, you go back to the Bronze Age, where you got the transition from the end of the Bronze Age to the beginning of the Iron Age. You know, the people who would have came about and walked and travelled the land and had the ability to make metal, they would have been seen as magicians. You know, if you could have the ability to work bronze, yes, but then a man comes to your village and says, "Oh, I've got the ability to make iron," you know, and goes off to a bog and digs up some iron ore. That would have been truly magical. And, you know, we take metal for granted these days. I mean, there's probably, you know, a lot of metal in a mobile phone we take for granted, including gold and silver and platinum. You know, rare materials that we are slowly running out of. But in those days, you know, it would have been less scarce than what we think. Not everybody would have had mail. Not everybody would have had a sword, or, yeah, a seax was very common because that was your freedom in the Anglo-Saxon culture. But it would have cost coin, you know, to say that a sword is equivalent to a Ferrari. So Andre Linarge says, "Good afternoon," or "Good afternoon to you, Andre. Nice to see you in a live stream. I thought I'd just do one in the afternoon. Got no real purpose of the live stream apart from to hang out with you guys. You know, we've got such sort of awesome fan base on this channel, and I do think we're building a really nice community. So I would just say, give you all a big thanks. A thanks from Bragi. Because, you know, good manners don't cost anything, and, you know, Vikings were very good-mannered people, you know. Of course, if you upset a Viking, then that's not a good thing, you know. They'll come along and burn you down in your longhouse, and then they'll come burn your longhouse down, and then the next generation carries on, and they're still feuding. You know, it's not a good thing to upset a Viking. So Eirik says, "I must be magic because I turned a piece of toot into a seax." Laughs out loud. Oh yeah. I mean, old files make great strikers. You can reheat one of them in a forge. I mean, car springs make nice saxes, you know. Leaf springs got a good amount of springs. I would have picked that up and put it in my car and think, oh yeah, I could turn that into a knife, and probably have done. So, Andre says, "A better time of day for me than late evening. I hope everyone is keeping well." Yes, so I may plan to do a late evening live stream tonight, but I thought I'll pop it on the afternoon. I do want to try to get into the habit of doing live streams, and my long-term aim is to give Friday the day to Egil, so we can put Egil on a live stream to build him up that confidence on camera. And somehow I'm going to have to let him probably wear glasses or give him a screen to read the comments from, because I think if he stood over here, he may struggle to read the comments unless he goes close up. He does wear glasses in modern life. But I just want to give Egil a whole day so I can not be in the kit. I'll just concentrate on filming Egil. And I'm trying to encourage Egil to prepare content beforehand rather than just come along and then have me say, "Can you make a video on this? Can you do a video on the sax? Can you read this folktale?" and then tell it in 5 minutes later. So, I mean, I have bought Egil quite a few books on folktales and a few historical books on Vikings and Saxons. And I will have to do some more of that, just to get encouraged to learn more. But because he doesn't have a YouTube at home, he doesn't watch himself. I mean, I do watch my videos. So when you watch your videos, you learn, you see the mistakes you make. You think, oh yeah, I made a mistake there. I shouldn't have said that. I should have, on this bit, I should have stretched out the tail and described the long house or describe what the people are wearing. And you pick that up from your videos. But because Egil doesn't watch his own content, and the only time really he'll watch it is either when his mate Rob goes over and shares some content on his phone perhaps, or he comes around here. And on occasion now I'll sit in front of a screen and show him some of the content because he doesn't get to watch it. I mean, I bet he's only watched 5% of the channel content really. But I hope it's entertaining for you, and I hope you're all staying safe during the lockdown. It has been quite trying what's been going on in the world, but I think we are slowly getting out of it, and I can see things improving. Actually today, for the first time, I went to one of my local shops, which is about half a mile away. So I did venture out. I went to a Farm Foods. I wanted to buy some pork scratchings. I managed to get 2 packets of normal pork scratchings and about 4 with chilli. So they're going to be fun to eat. Chilli pork scratchings. But it does make you think, how old is pork scratching? I mean, I think it's a very old thing. You know, there you are, old Olaf or Eirik in the Dark Ages. You know, he's got a few pigs on his long, you know, next to his long house on his farmstead, and you know, if it's not going to turn the skin into a hide to make something out of, which often, I've got a gamson here. Gamsons are often made with pig skin. It's a tougher leather. You know, you may think to yourself, well, I make some pork scratchings, and they are very nice. I remember one time I was at Westo and I was using the forge. They've got a lovely open workshop with a traditional forge, and TK came along with a big bowl of pork scratchings, and me and Dave had the impression that they was all for us, but they weren't. So we grabbed the bowl thinking that he's got us a whole massive bowl of pork scratchings, but we was only meant to have a handful because I was going around sharing them. But I always remember that, and it's very interesting when I was at Westo a few times working the traditional forge, you know. So, Andre says, did you burn and pillage the shop? No, unfortunately I didn't go in Viking kit, and I'll get looked at and probably be refused entrance if I came along with a good axe and saying, I demand pork scratchings now, you know. That's one way to be arrested, I guess. And I did see something rather amazing. I saw 2 policemen, or a policeman and a policewoman on the way down, which is a rare sight these days, walking the street and the alleyways. You know, back in the old days, you used to be all over walking, but there's far less of them now. So, Dragler says, hello there, everyone. Hello, how are you doing? Hope you're keeping well on your channel, and I keep seeing you putting your videos out. I do watch some now and again, but I do struggle to find time to watch content. There's just too many channels I watch, and some days I just don't have the mental energy to sit down and watch something. And I've been busy on BBC iPlayer at the moment, watching a few series on that. I started watching Killing Eve, that's very good. I'm into the 2nd series now. And then I've been watching, don't know why, I've just been watching some Jonathan Creek. There's a lot of them I've never seen. But it makes you think, you know, murder mysteries in the Dark Ages. And we've got 8 people watching, that's wonderful. So, you know, you're such wonderful people. I do love you guys, and thanks for all the support you've given us over the years. So Duago says, hey Andre, and Eirik, the man of many axes. Yes, well, I'll make you an axe one day. I must have down my blacksmith workshop about 50 axe heads. So one day I'll grind one out for you, and I'll make you an axe. And you better say you got an axe from Bragi. I mean, if anybody sent me any material, you could very easily convince me with a few beers and sew you up an under tunic, because I really do like sewing. It's just a good way to watch TV. I'm just one of these people, I can't sit down and watch TV without wanting to do something else. So, you know, I've got a TV here, my monitor here, and I could be sewing away or doing a bit of bone work and trying to get into that again. I just can't sit down for long without wanting to do something, unless I'm really, really knackered and I don't have the energy. So Dragler says, oh, hey, Eirik. And yes, Eirik says, Dragler, long time no see. Well, he's still about, he's still making his content, his kind of haunting music. I don't often put music in the videos because generally some people like it and some people don't. And I know Martin Brown doesn't like music, so I tend not to put it in for him. But perhaps we should do in the future and use some more music. But a lot of the music I got from YouTube just wouldn't be really relevant to, you know, Dark Age content. But I do like the stuff you make, Dragler. Keep at it. So hi Rick and many axes. As the name you wonderfully named me, I do like many axes. A mighty axe from Bragi, the mightiest gold. Well, hey, oh yes, I'll make one in the modern shape, modern way of making an axe. Old axes are sometimes the best axes you can find to convert. You just need a good angle grinder, ability to chop into it. Although what a lot of people do, I know a guy called Tony, and he'll buy old axes from car boots, and then he'll go to a plasma cutter or a laser cutter, engineering firm with one, and then he'll have them laser out the shape. So that's the way to do it in the modern age. But of course in those days you have to just make the axe from scratch. And of course if you're a woodby smith, then you know, the axe won't last very long, and the more you smith, the better you get. There is a knack to making an axe, and there's a knack to fire rolling and getting the ability to get two bits of metal to join. That's the most difficult bit about forging, is knowing the temperature, knowing when to do that. You know, and of course you will probably have, if you're not used to forging an axe, you put your axe in your forging and you go away for a minute to get a drink, which I'm going to do now, and then you see your forge all sparking upwards. Well, you just lost your axe because it's just melted away, and there'll be a lot of damage on it, and it'll be no good. You're back to square one. So Dragler says, what are you guys up to? And Dragler says, I just did some collabs. I was sent some lost place footage. I mix it together with my music. All right, cool. Well, you're always welcome to use our content if you want it. I can mark it as creative content. You could use, that's no problem. Plus I do have a very old channel back in the day where I got lots of content when I used to be an urbexer. But I generally don't give that channel name out. It's also got a lot of strange UFO content on and all sorts on that channel. I've had lots of videos on that channel rather than not making public. Because I think last time I looked, a few months back, I had over 1,000 public videos on it. I'm now down to about 212 public videos. And a lot of them are copyrighted, so I'm deleting them. I've always thought about, because that channel gets in something like 500,000 views each month. But because it's copyrighted, I can't monetize that channel, and I never have done, never really bothered about it. But I have thought about just completely rebranding the channel into something else, but I've got enough to do with this own channel, so. And Draglar says, oh, thanks, Andre. Oh, yes. Thanks indeed. Thanks for you guys hanging out. It's always lovely to see you guys here, and girls, don't forget the girls. I think on average we have about 90% watchers are male and about 10% on average are female. I think that's often the way with YouTube. It is much more men dominated. But we always welcome ladies on this channel, as Egil would say. Woof, woof. Yeah. Although, it's been a long time since I've seen Egil have a girlfriend. So I keep threatening to put him on Tinder, you know, and set him up with an account. See if we get some old dears. Hello, I want to go out on a date with Egil. He told me once he had a date round his flat and the woman locked herself in the bathroom for about 10 hours. He just sat there in his lounge thinking what to do. And what would you do if you had a date round your house and the woman locked herself in the bathroom? I mean, you could get your axe out and shut down the door, but you know, it's a bit psycho-ish, isn't it? And she'd probably be scared out of her brains. But Egil's got so many funny stories about his life. It's a saga on its own, and a funny one. So Eric says, you should do it and film the response. Oh, yes. I think we've only ever done one reaction video, is when I had a Tube Buddy review. And I didn't read the description of the Tube Buddy review because it was done by a guy called Savage. I've never really heard of him since then, I don't know at the time, but he basically gave people a savage review in a comical way. So we did a reaction video to that, and it kind of went over Egil's head because he didn't quite understand the concept of it. So Andre here's Bragi. Oh yes. I've not seen Psycho for ages, you know. It's such a great movie, but it's just one of those I've not watched for a long time. I mean, I don't think Psycho 2, I think, was there a Psycho 3 film? They weren't as good as the first one. You know, mother? You know, it's a bit weird though, isn't it? You know, it makes you think about the Iron Age and the Bronze Age and earlier when they used to, you know, smoke the bodies of the relatives and put them in the rafters and then eventually they'll bury them under the floor where they lived. I mean, how spooky would that be in today's terms? You know, your grandma dies and, you know, you shoved her in the attic for a few years and let her go off and of course, you know, we don't often have open fires in buildings. Well, then you go and bury under the floor. You did that today, you'll be arrested. But it's a very strange concept, isn't it? From the Neolithic times into the early Bronze Age when they would smoke the relatives to preserve them. And then sometimes they would put them in bogs as a ritual. You know, bog bodies is a fascinating subject. You know, I've got a few books on bog bodies and they are fascinating to read about. So Dragler says not Psycho. And Dragler says Shining. Oh yes, Shining is another great movie. Next door I got a lady vicar. Used to live next door. She's moved house or rented it out to somebody else. So I don't know where she's gone to. They don't really talk to us being Christians. And one day I was down in the garden and she was walking around her house. The house is like a modern build and it's like got kind of a shape of a church. And she was walking around her house. I hope she's not watching. But it did remind me of that scene when he opened the door and that old woman was naked. But she looked a bit like that. And it kind of put me off baking for a few weeks. And then I told my dad about it and he went down the garden to have a look and she weren't there. Yeah, I mean, it's not a sight every day you see, is it really? When you're walking down your garden, you don't expect to see your neighbours walking around naked in their house. And the windows are like a big church window, but not stained. It's funny how they never spoke to us since. Anyway, don't know about smoking the relatives, but Keith Richards snorted his dad's ashes. Yes, he did, yes, I believe that's true. And Keith Richards, what a dude he is. I think he fell out of a tree a couple of years ago and broke a bone, didn't he? But I saw that concert they did for COVID-19 about a month back and they had Rolling Stones on. And the one with the drum set didn't have a drum set. But amazing to think, you know, they've been, what, going since the mid-60s? You know, that's years they've been going. But then another band we often don't think about, which are really old, are Aerosmith. I mean, Aerosmith have been going since the 1960s. We often think, well, they started in the 70s. But yeah, again, Steve Tyler, Aerosmith, what a dude he is. And I was always into my heavy metal music when I was growing up. At school, when I went to a local school called John Port School. And we didn't have a uniform. So my uniform was black jeans and a Guns N' Roses t-shirt. And I had a Walkman, and I didn't really pay attention in the class. I just listened to Guns N' Roses and Iron Maiden. But and then people got up to bad things. But that's another story. But I think we often talk, I mean, Ivik have talked, what sort of music would Vikings like? And I think they would like heavy metal. I think, you know, the association with heavy metal music and Vikings. What sort of music would you think, you know, Anglo Saxon would go for? Would they be into heavy metal too? Or perhaps they'd be into something more like Rainbow? Or and I don't mean the three characters, I mean the band Rainbow. Or perhaps they'd be into the Deep Purple, I don't know. But then again, Deep Purple is such a diverse band. You know, and the amount of people who've been in Deep Purple, it's beyond me. They've had so many people, you know. I'm into the early Deep Purple. A big fan of theirs is Turkey. He's a massive heavy metal fan. In fact, you can often go around his house and you'll be there blasting out a Deep Purple video. He doesn't watch mainstream telly. He just watches music videos all the time. But, oh yeah, Iron Maiden. They're such a cool band. So, well, I got into the comments section. Again, I don't know how to get up. Yes, another big fan of Motorhead is Turkey. In fact, his famous story once he gave a Thor's hammer to Lemmy at a concert. You know, and Lemmy kind of looked at him and says, "Oh, thanks, dude." And then a couple of years later, I think they gained the derby, and Turkey gave Lemmy a can of beer. You know, here, Lemmy, here's a can of beer. And of course, being a heavy metal dude, Lemmy wouldn't say no to a free can of beer. But yeah, so somewhere in Lemmy's collection, rest in peace now, Lemmy. He's probably in Valhalla rocking it right now. There is a Thor hammer that belongs to one of our former hosts, and maybe one of our future hosts again. We'll see. We'll let the gods decide on that one, I always say. So I've got a couple of comments here to read. I do love reading your comments. Ivy says, I would like my body placed in a bog. I'd have my arms and middle fingers pose, throwing the birdie. Haha, that would confuse future archaeologists. Yeah, I just got that now. I've always wanted a good Viking burial. I mean, can I have a ship and take all my Viking goods with me? I mean, I don't mind being dug up afterwards and some of the silverware and weapons going, but I'd like to take some to Valhalla with me. I wouldn't mind going to heaven for a little bit and seeing my relatives. And then I'd probably sod off from heaven because it would bound to be boring, and then go to Valhalla. But you never know, I mean, my mum was a bit of a raver, so I always imagine whenever my dad asked, because my dad's got Alzheimer's, you'll go down at 2 in the morning and you'll say, where's mum? Where's, you know, you have to say, well, you know, she's no longer here. If you're not used to telling your parent that, you know, the other half's died, it can be very hurtful at the beginning, and it's a hard thing to say, oh, mum's passed away. But now it's just second nature. I just tell her she's in heaven having a good time. She'll be having a better time what we are down here, I can guarantee you that. My mum always landed on her feet. So, got a couple of comments. So, Andre says, Ulrich, oh, you got a new pronunciation for your name of a big, I think that's a laughing emoji. So, yeah, that's a very funny comment, that, Ulrich. And then Dragler, can't go wrong with Iron Maiden. Oh, you certainly can't. I mean, some of their massive gigs are just massive. I mean, they go to, like, you know, Rio de Janeiro, and there'd be like 50,000 people in the audience, and they have these massive sets. And I always find it amazing that the guy, I can't remember his name, it escapes me, can fly a jumbo jet. I mean, they've got their own plane. I mean, that's how cool Iron Maiden are. You don't see Motorhead or Metallica having their own plane and flying it themselves, do you? You know. And Ivik says, if Vikings were to find an iPod, they would listen to Black Sabbath, and Saxons would listen to Enya. Yeah, well, that kind of makes sense, yeah. You know, all around my hat. It's not sung by them, but yeah, I think that could be true. Now, Andre says, is the flower pot still open in Derby? Yes, it is, but not at the moment. I imagine it's closed with the COVID-19 crisis. But sometimes when I meet Thomas on a Wednesday, we end up in the flower pot because they have a free band. And though the beer's a bit expensive, last time I was in the flower pot, the landlord gave me half a pint of cider for free. Because it was the bottom of the barrel, and I do like my cider, and it was very nice. I thanked him. And, you know, I don't know if they got a lot of internet down there, because we have done one live stream from Wetherspoon's pub. I was wearing modern clothing, so I don't go out dressed as a Viking. But we did try that again, me and Thomas, but I made a massive mistake by not putting .co.uk at the end of my email. So there I was trying to log in and couldn't figure it out, and just one of those stupid mistakes you make. But we will again in the future on a Wednesday do a live stream. And we're going to try, of course with this new phone it's going to be even better quality. And I've actually figured out, me and Thomas, where they got the internet box. But yes, that's something they don't often tell you about Wetherspoons. You can live stream in there. Just go and ask the manager. Be nice. So can we do a live stream? We won't include anybody. We'll be very careful what we say, and we'll give you a shout out. Another thing apparently about Wetherspoons is that you can get married in them. So there you go. I've never been to a marriage in Wetherspoons, but it is still open. Actually, when was the last time you was down Derby then, Andre? Because they've done it up now. They've got a nice outside beer garden. And of course, next door used to be a garage. And then they took over the garage of their music venue. I've seen some fantastic bands in the flower pot over the years. It's just a bit of it's one of those pubs for really good ale. And it's one of those pubs where teachers go. You always meet teachers and artists in there. There's a guy goes in there who's a sculpturist. And he doesn't like talking about what he does. But... you know, it seems a bit strange if you're into art and making things. I'll be talking about it. I mean, every time I meet people, I always mention the channel. I need to get some business cards. The amount of time I've written the channel name down and say, take a look at that, and they ask for it. So, because I got this paste and clipboard thing up again. There we go. I think it was about 2000 event. Oh yes, well, if you're ever in Derby again, Andre, let us know and we'll try to meet up. I'm always happy to meet up subs, and something we talked about in the past is having a sub meet up, you know, meet with your subs. There's a guy I watched, one of the people that encouraged me, not himself, but his content did, was a guy called Adam the Woo. I'll type his name in. And I've seen him do a few channel meets, and it just been like a big, you know, shopping mall, and they'll be queuing outside the door to meet him. And, you know, they'll bring him nice things and cards. And he really is a decent YouTuber, is Adam the Woo. I've put his name there wrong. I'll put in Adam the Card. I don't know why. And if you ever see in the description, I'll use the phrase, what I try to do now in the description of the folk tales, I'll describe the folk tale, but I won't describe the end of it. I'll put, watch the ending, you know, to find out what happens, show you. And that's how I generally end this video, to say show you, an encouragement to you to watch. So I kind of nicked that from Adam the Woo. Adam the Woo is quite famous for going around Disneyland and being kicked off a few times, and because he goes to the places you're not meant to film. And I think he kind of became a daily vlogger, and for about 7 or 8 years he did a video every day. And then at one point he sold his flat and he's got a van, and he just travelled America and just filming every day. And he's got some really cool friends that do it as well. So yeah, and Dragler says, what a strange name that is. Oh yeah, it is a strange name. But it's an awesome channel. One of those few channels that kind of got me into thinking about doing this channel. Another one I like, I'll put him down as well, is a guy called Archaeology. I don't know if you guys heard of him. He goes around metal detecting in rivers in America. And, you know, he's always finding some amazing things like cannonballs, as I'm quite into American history from the 19th century and the 18th century. And he's a really decent bloke. I mean, I remember being a sub to him, and he had about 50,000 subs on my old channel, my first channel, and he subscribed back to me, and he still is a subscriber, even though none of that content is really relevant to what he does. But the other day I was on that channel and I saw there's a Viking battle I was in from about 14 years ago. So would you guys like me to get that video? If I can find it or download it, I will do, and re-edit it and show you guys what a modern Viking battle would look like. It's about 15 minutes long. It's not going to have the same quality as this camera, but I thought about doing it. Would you like me to do that for you? Edit an old battle I was in. That was a battle when we drunk a mountainous supply of mead the night before, because I was vastly hungover in the battle. I can remember. We had a guy called Max, that's Olaf. Whenever you see me talk about Olaf, I'm always referring to a guy called Mad Max, who was an old friend of mine. He used to be a bit of a character. He used to be a bit of a car thief from Whipley, but that was in his younger youth, before he kind of got kicked out by his parents when he was about 15 and met some wrong people. But when I met him, he was living in a housing association on the farm where I had a blacksmith forge, which I still have. And I kind of encourage him, you know, to live a better lifestyle and learn from the mistakes he's made. And he got into reenactment. He did a bit of Viking reenactment with us, and he became a character called Olaf. And then we did take the mickey because we called him Olaf Bederson. And I won't explain why that's funny, but if you know anything about Viking names, you will find that very funny. The son of a beadling. Yes, Eric says, we would love to see that. Yeah, so I'll have a go at, I can download it from the old channel. In fact, I may have it on my computer somewhere, one of them. And I'll look to edit that. It's not going to be a good enough quality, but you will get to see our arena. I mean, I think it's Conisbrough Castle, or it's Pontefract Castle. And you'll see us in the arena fighting, and we take on some Normans. And you kind of see me wearing some of the old kit I had, which I still have. I sold a few things. One of the things I did sell was a very nice seax, and it had a carving of Odin. I kind of regret selling that, you know. I saw that mate called Dave. I wish I kept it, but never mind. You'll get selling some of these things. So Eric, the man of many axes, says, I've always wanted to metal detect. It looks like fun. Now, one of our subscribers, Paul Farrer, he's made the new channel banner for us, and also has been working on some of the thumbnails, although he's not made any the last 2 weeks. He does have a metal detector, and he is on about coming up to Derby in the future and bringing it. So if we can get a permission, I've got a couple of sites on some local parts where we used to battle practice, where I imagine we must have dropped stuff like rings and strap ends. There's bound to be some stuff up there. So we'll try to get a video together doing some metal detecting. And of course I do have access to some land where it goes back about 1,000 years in the same family. So I expect there'll be some Anglo Saxon stuff on that land. And I just got to speak to the landowner, who's a good friend of mine. His family came over with William the Conqueror, and in the 1080s was given the land by William. And then they kind of moved a little bit in the area, and then later on one of the other kings, I think it was Henry, one of the Henrys gave him some more land. But he had a lot more land at one point, but now it's down to about 460 acres. And as far as I know, it had never been metal detected. So I quite fancy going where the cowboys used to hang out. They had some cowboy re-enactors living on the estate, and they used to go and fire live bullets out of the pistols. So I quite fancy going there and digging some of them up. So Dragolo says, I live in Germany. That's a very cool country, is Germany. So let's have a look, see any comments I've missed. Eric says, we would like to see that. Well, yeah, I'll try to sort that, and perhaps I can edit it as a one of the big milestones. I do have one ready for 1,500 subs, but I generally try to ignore the 1,300 and 1,400. Although I did film a video for 1,400, but I'm not sure I'm going to edit it. It's an unboxing video of some books I bought on a tripod, but I'm not sure how relevant that's going to be, really. Do you guys really want to watch me unwrap some books? I mean, one of them's here anyway, the book on riddles. It's a bit out of context about what we do. So, Dragolo, where I live, there's a real good area for metal detecting. Lots of stuff from World War II is still there. There's a channel that goes around doing this. It's called World War II. I think, if I'm trying to recall the name, I think it's History Hunter. Check him out. I think it's that. If it's not that, I'll correct it in the comments, and I'll put a comment and pin it. But he's a German dude. I don't think you ever see him, but you hear his voice. He speaks very good English, and he takes you around all these bunkers and he metal detects. He's found some wonderful things. And I do like watching metal detecting videos. And of course, another channel that kind of inspired me was a guy called, oh, wait a minute, it'll come back to me. Oh, what's his name? Oh, I've forgotten. I can't put it in. It's funny how some days you forget things. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. It makes you think how old that saying is. It's there somewhere. It'll come back to me in a minute when I'm not thinking about it. It's funny when you can't remember something, the more you think about it, the more you can't remember. But then if a little trick, if you can't remember something, just go and do something else and try to forget about it and relax, and it will come back to you, generally. Oh, I've got the name now. Deep Digger Dan. This is another channel that inspired us. Now, Deep Digger Dan's, I'm putting Deep Dogger Dan. That's another channel, probably. Deep Dogger Dan. I don't know why, but that's quite funny. Deep Digger Dan started living in Germany, and he started going around metal detecting. He's quite infamous for finding a hand grenade and just pretending to pull the pin out and throwing it away in the wood. But it's another very cool channel. He's going around England a lot metal detecting and trying to visit every county and every historical place and film them, which must be a mammoth task to do, because there's literally thousands of historical sites in England. So there's just some of the recommendations. Andre says, Eastern Europe by any chance? Question mark. And then Dragler says, I live in Germany, which I've already read. Oh, Panala, very nice to see you. She says, oh, this is a surprise. And Italy early for me. I start inner soon. So I think there's some loss in translation there. Yeah, I will think about designing and recording the pattern for this undertunit for you if you want to make one. I'm an engineer by trade, so making patterns and working out the calculations for me is very easy. So just typing. Have I got to bend down? I wish I wasn't so tall some days. I'm just going to put cool for some reason so I can get out the chat box. And Andre says, I saw someone dig up a whole load of unawarded iron crosses on a video. They were all clumped together in a chunk of earth. That may have been World War II History Hunter. I've certainly seen maybe one of the other guys. There's quite a few people in Eastern Europe go around metal detecting, and they do find, you know, lots of iron crosses in clumps. I mean, a lot of them would have been thrown away towards the end of the war because you wouldn't want to be associated with the Nazis, especially if you was wanting to escape and go through Italy via the Red Cross and, you know, and go further abroad into South America, which did happen. I mean, if you ever seen the series Hunting Hitler, that kind of demonstrates that. When there was swimming in metal detecting in the lakes in Austria, and there was finding all kinds of stuff. But it does make you think, what's out there buried still? I mean, there could bound to be some bunkers that had never been touched, got just buried in the war very quickly. I mean, the guy for this is Egil, because Egil does collect military medals. He does have a lot of British medals and also a lot of German medals. He's very much into that history. Yes, I'm thinking about doing another live stream tonight. Would you guys and girls like that? You know, do a late night live stream. I think my voice would hold out. And I've been planning to do one for a few days. I'm going to do one last Friday, but I was just absolutely knackered on Friday. And didn't really have the energy. And I was very close to doing one on Wednesday evening. But by the time the carer came, but I'm going to adjust the carer in the future to come at 9 o'clock so that I can jump straight onto a live stream, and then I'm not staying up until 2 or 3 in the morning, because I do have to get sleep. It's very important as a carer I get sleep. So Andre says, that's cool, I have a World War II hand grenade, a DEAC, that means deactivated, as a paperweight on my desk. Oh, cool. I mean, lots of them did get deactivated. I mean, the hand grenade is a wonderful thing. In fact, I got a friend of mine, he works, or an old friend of mine, no longer a friend of mine, he used to work at Rolls-Royce and still does, and they still got the dies for the mill grenades. So it shows you, I mean, I think that's fascinating that he goes into the tooling section and there's the old dies for making mills grenades. I mean, certainly if you go down south, you'll find many beaches and they've got no end of World War II ammunition on the beach. I mean, you'll just see it all over the place, you know, incendiaries and all sorts. I mean, the amount of, you know, ammunition used in both World Wars is shockingly massive, millions and millions. But you do have to be very careful. I mean, there was on the news the other day about a woman who was digging her garden and she found a World War II bomb. And at first didn't know what it was, so she was scraping it down and you know, she even banged it with a hammer to get some of the rust off. And then she put a picture of it on Facebook and someone said, well, that's a World War II bomb and you should really call the bomb disposal squad. And I think she lived by the coast and they went onto the beach and blew it up. So let's read some of these comments. Just hang on a minute. So Panada says that Eric, man of many axes. Hello there. All good, I hope. Well, I'm groovy, as Egil would say. I'm generally normally am. I'm a very positive person, so you often won't find me being down and unhappy. I've got the opposite problem, to be honest. I'm too happy all the time. You know, my glass is half full, not half empty. And Panada says at Andre Linarge, I hope I'm pronouncing your last name right. I'm not very good at pronouncing things at times. Hi there. So, Eirik, man of many axes. All is well on my side, Benila. How are you? Yeah, how are you? And we've got a comment here from Rob Napier. Afternoon. Does a Boer War Wesley Roberts rifle count? Well, probably does. You know, that's another fascinating history. In fact, I gave a book to Egil about the Boer War because I had 2 copies of it. So I keep going through my books and finding 2 copies, and when I've got 2 copies, I just give them to Egil. Although I did give some books also to Thomas. So Bernardo says that Northworthy Sagas and Stories, that's me, hello. Pity I have to go and make dinner soon. Oh, what are you making for your dinner? I thought you were a night owl for these live chats, laughs out loud. Well, yes. But I thought I want to try to get in the habit of doing some afternoon live streams as well for, you know, people that don't hang about all night and stay up. I am a bit of a night owl. I can't help it. It's how my brain works. But last night I went to bed at 8 o'clock. I don't know why. I was so tired. This is very rare for me. I just nodded off. I couldn't stay awake watching telly. So I thought, well, I'll go to bed. I fell asleep very quickly. And then about 1 o'clock my dad woke up. And we have a sensor mat, so we have an alarm goes off. I think on one live stream it kept on going off when I did a live stream when I didn't have a carer here. I don't really like doing live streams when I'm on my own. But I could do that. I could do a live stream when my dad goes to bed on a Tuesday evening or Thursday evening or Saturday, Sunday. My dad generally will stay asleep for 3 or 4 hours before he wakes up for the first time and then stream them. So Panina says, "Hi Rick, the man of many answers. Today a little better as it's been raining today, and it keeps the pollen down, which is good for me. Well, if you suffer from hay fever, the best thing to do is go and buy some local honey and just keep eating that honey to build up your tolerance. That's what I keep hearing people say. I think I had hay fever once in about 2006, and I took one of those tablets for it and never had it since. But then again, I grew up with honey and bees, so I ate a lot of honey as a child. In fact, I must have probably about 500 pounds in weight downstairs. I was actually thinking about making some mead. I don't know, would you like me to make you some mead? Because it would be too much for me to drink. I'd have to make some 5-gallon barrels of it and then share it about when you pop up. So Andre says, I think the rifle certainly counts. Oh yes, I think it does, Rob. And I will be in contact with you in the near future. You know what I'm on about. So and Rob says, Rob Napier, friend of the channel and a fellow Viking. He's very good with the bow. Thank you. It's great to have such a great community. So we'll just keep going on. We've got no real set plan about this live stream. It's just a hang out with me in the afternoon. And what time are we on? So I've still got another hour or 45 minutes until I'll probably have to go. So we'll just keep live streaming. And yeah, and I may pop on about 10:15 to 10:30 tonight and do another one. If I'm not knackered after this. Although I want to go and eat some food in a bit, so I've got some pork scratchings and some nice sweet curry sauce. I went shopping for myself today. Do the pork scratchings. I think I've already ever once started the video when I was eating pork scratchings. But I don't like eating on video. I think it's kind of bad manners, and the last thing you want to see is somebody eat on video. I probably pretend to eat more when I get a bowl. I've done that a few times. And some of the stories when Egil was telling them. So Eric says, the man of many axes. I would love a drop of mead, my brother. Will never say no to that. Yeah, I'm going to have to figure out how to make it. I don't think it's complicated. I think it's a matter of getting some honey and some sugar. I think they use sugar in the modern recipe. And then just put it in a big demijohn full of water. You know, I could probably get some nice Buxton spring water in for that and make it extra special. But I might have a look as well. I know this is a little folder I got. I was on about the other day. This is a recipe folder. It's all full of medieval recipes. And I was on about some way of... At the moment we would struggle to cook on camera. That would be a more of a long-term aim. And that will take some preparation. But I think I like the idea of sitting down and picking a recipe out of that book of medieval recipes. And some date back to the Dark Ages. And a lot of them will date from the 13th, 14th century. But, you know, food's an old thing, you know. Recipes get passed down. And then just read the recipe to you guys. Read the ingredients. And then me and Egg will talk about them. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that's a winner? Would you like to see some of that? Or should we just do one video and give it a go and see what kind of reaction we get? And I get lots of crazy ideas. So... And some days it's good to try something different on new camera rather than just doing the same old content. But, you know, like I said, I keep thinking about doing parody songs because I am very good with lyrics. I mean, being a scholar and a poet, I can just knock up lyrics like that. So, you know. that's partly why I lent a guitar, one of my guitars, to Egil, so he can practice. But I don't know if we're ever going to do that. So, give me a minute, I've got to get out of this. No. Delete. No, I don't know what I've done there. So Andre says, I had some at Christmas. 3 battles. Didn't last long. Now, I think it's right in saying you can go to Morrison's and Morrison's do a home brand mead, or they used to. Any of you guys been to Morrison's recently, and do they still make the mead? But the best mead you can get is Moniac mead. And I do hope they still make it. Lindisfarne mead, made by the monks, is very good as well. And of course, it's one of those things that gets better with age. You know, you leave it for 20, 30 years, it will just turn into a liqueur. The mead I've got downstairs is 40 years old. So can you imagine how good that's going to be? I've still got 4 gallons of that. I'm saving it for those special occasions. And we might one day do a video of get drunk with Vikings, and every time somebody leaves a certain comment or a phrase, we'll have to take a drink. And then we'll see how long it takes us to get drunk. I don't often get drunk. I don't like getting drunk. I like to be merry. Then that's my kind of limit then. The edge of merriness. When you're all drunk and you're talking about I'm a braggy, I'm drunk today. You know, I don't think it's very good for camera, and I don't think YouTube like that kind of content. But it would be very funny to get Egil drunk and see what he gets up to. Drunk Folktales with Egil Thorsson. That's the title alone there. Yeah, we're getting me thirsty. I need a drink now of my non-generic Ribena. It's a strongbow glass. I should use a wooden vessel, really. I need to buy some glass drinking vessels. I've always wanted a claw beaker. And you can get them online. There's a few sutlers on Etsy that sell claw beakers. I did have a conical glass beaker, but I think I broke it when I walked into a door with it once, and it kind of shattered in my hand. And the other day I was having a bonfire and I set fire to my leg. So there's a bit of inside information there for you. I can hear the phone going downstairs. I hope they're not going to phone up here next. I can't go and answer it because I'm live on camera. It'd be awfully rude for me to disappear and answer the phone. So I have to find out who that is later on. But I said I'll be going about 40 minutes. I've got to go out 5:15. So that's when I'll be ending this live stream. And we've all looked on a Friday when we get back to normality, whatever that may be in the world, to get Egil to come over 2 days a week, a Monday and a Friday. And Fridays will be Egil's day. Egil's day to do a live stream and record any content he wants to do. Now the other day I noticed on my phone that you can't put the aeroplane mode on and be on a live stream at the same time because it knocks out your internet signal. I think how daft is that? Because ideally when you're doing a live stream you don't want nobody to ring you up. But when you're on a live stream they can't ring you up, I don't know. But we're only going to find that out when it happens. But we'll just mosey on. That's an old saying for going along with it. Makes you think how old the word mosey along is. When I was back in the Civil War days, I had 2 guys who to hang about with. One was called Smokey, because he used to smoke a pipe and he was a drummer. And the other one was called Moses. And we called him Moses because he used to preach at us all the time about things. And then we had another guy who recruited. His name was Lonely, because he was lonely. So that's his nickname. It's funny how people get nicknames, isn't it? I've had a few over the years. Because I'm also quite good at nicknaming people as well, like I did with Eirik, the man in many axes. Thomas of Dale, or sometimes called Thomas of Dale. I hope he's alright, Thomas. If you're watching this later on, or you're watching it now, hello. How you coping in the lockdown? I do worry about you some days, mate. But I try to send him a message now and again on Facebook or Instagram to see how he's coping and how he's doing. He lives about 3 miles from me in town, so he's very close actually to the flower pot. In fact, you could probably get up to the flower pot in 30 seconds if you ran, and about 2 minutes if you walk. Yes, I'm missing going to pubs. I really am. Any more comments? I would say where you all are, but I know one of you is from Sweden, from Ireland, and the rest are from Britain. And of course, Draglaws from Germany. So that's already an international audience we have here. You know, I think last time I checked we was in over 50 countries of people. If you type in the analytics page and you go to your whole history, it shows you where countries you've been in. So we've been quite a few. I think at the moment we're getting about 1.8% of our content is people watching from Denmark. So if you're from Denmark, hello. But let's not forget Norway and Sweden and Iceland, of course, the land of ice and fire, and also Finland. So Eirik says, I'm just chomping on my dinner, but I'm still hanging. Haha, what are you having for your dinner, Eirik? I'm very curious to know what you're having. I've not thought about my dinner yet. I've not had breakfast yet, to be honest with you. I've had, my breakfast consisted of a cup of tea and then a cup of coffee after I came back. No, I had coffee before I went out. I went to a walk, went to Farm Foods. It's the first time I've been to Farm Foods in 2 months. There you go. It's behind the scenes of Bragi. Now, another idea I had was doing a behind the scenes vlog where like I might start filming when I'm in bed. You know, I have my Viking hat on and show you the life of Bragi. You know, I do it on a Wednesday when I'm going in Derby. But I'm a little bit reluctant about taking a decent camera in Derby. But I could probably do that on my mobile phone, as I will be carrying that with me when I go in Derby. I'm going to have to make another leather holder for it. Leather little bags, you know, rectangular bags are great for cameras. So, oh yes, Andre says, hail to all Scandies. Oh yes, Skull. Skull indeed. I watched a guy called Fit MC and he loves Scandinavian people. So whenever anybody says they're from Scandinavia, I think the other day he had 16,000 people watching his video when he was hunting for bases on 2B2T. It's a Minecraft channel that does all Anarchy Minecraft on the worst Anarchy server in the world. But yeah, so he often leaves a Skull comment to anybody from Scandinavia. So Skull, if you're from Scandinavia, great. We do have 2 playlists. We have a Nordic playlist of all our folk tales from Nordic countries and a Scandinavian one, just in case you're searching for Scandinavian folk tales. So Andre says, what would behind the scenes with Egil look like? Dusty. You know, it's very dusty. It's not a sort of man that hoovers often. Lots of books. Then he'll probably have him sat watching TV in the morning. He loves bargain hunt. I imagine you've got a kind of a schedule he watches. Being grumpy. I imagine there'd be lots of grumpiness in it. A real behind the scenes Egil. He can be very, very funny when he's grumpy. I can remember one time when he fell out of his car when he used to drive in the early 2000s and he was kicking it and thumping it and throwing his tunic into the back of the boot, slagging his car off. It's so funny when he gets frustrated. You very rarely see that on camera. So Eirik, the man of many axes, I'm having chicken nuggets, spicy curly fries, mixed veg and lots of sweet chilli sauce. Huh, that sounds awesome to me. It made you think, what would Vikings think about chili? Not that they had any, but would they like chili? I mean, they got to America, Vinderlander. What makes you think? Did they go a bit further down south where chilies came from? Do chilies come from South America? I'm thinking about that now. It's not something I've ever really Googled. Where do chilies come from? I'm not a massive fan of chili, but I do swear to you, if you've got a cold coming on, get some beer down you and have a hot kebab with chili sauce. I'll get rid of it. And then put deep heat on your feet before you go to bed, if you remember. So Andre says, grumpy and frustrated is the right. That slowly comes with age. Yeah, yes, perhaps I've not got to that stage in my life where I got grumpy yet. You never know, it could happen. I know if I don't get enough sleep in the morning or at night, I end up being grumpy. But then again, I think most people can be grumpy when you don't get enough sleep. I moved back because I keep seeing my top of the head cut off. I don't have a flat head. But the problem is I can't quite see the comments. I've got a big window and the sun's shining in the room. But you think of older curtains. Did Vikings have curtains on the windows? No, I can imagine, you know, you got a bit of nice material. I can imagine you could put some of that over your walls to make your walls look better. And again, it's showing your wealth off. If you've got a long house and you've got wool or linen on your walls, that kind of says, well, this man's wealthy. They can afford to have a linen on the walls. So certainly, you know, having material hangings is an old thing, but would they have had some kind of a curtain? I think they're more likely to have shutters on the doors. But, you know, that's another thing we don't often find in archaeology. I don't recall Westow having curtains on the walls. And Andre says, don't scratch your balls after using deep heat. It is a very special kind of agony. Indeed, yes. And there's a deep heat out there. It's called Fiery Jack. I think it's the strongest deep heat you can get. Don't rub your eyes afterwards. You won't be able to see for a few days. So, but it's, my God, it's strong stuff. Is Fiery Jack. Now, you can't often find it. You've got to go and look in a few pharmacies to find Fiery Jack deep heat. But by the gods, it's the most powerful deep heat in the world. I don't know what they put in it, but my God, I'll get rid of a chesty cough and a bad back. So, Jewish Black Wolfie, what's up? You all my Viking brothers. Oh yes, everybody is a brother and a sister on this channel. You know, no matter where you come from, what you do. If you think you're a Viking, you're a Viking. Of course, you're only really a Viking if you're going a Viking. And the Viking is a very interesting word and term. Of course, it fundamentally means that a Vic is a river inlet. And you go a Viking, you can only be classed as a Viking if you're going a Viking. So welcome to the channel, D-Wise Black Wolfie. I've seen you before on a live stream. I'm not sure if you left any comments on the videos. So, how is it going? Where are you from? And what are you drinking? I'm drinking some fake Ribena. It's a kind of a fruity drink. I do have backup. I have some cider. This is the Bulmers. It's a crushed red berry and lime. Now, that's another thing I thought about doing on the channel, was reviewing some beers for you. You know, it's a bit of a random thing. I mean, I'd have to get 2 beers in, one for me and Egil, and we could sample some fine ale. And then talk about the production of ale in the Dark Ages and the Viking times. Because, you know, if you got poor water, then you had to make alcohol all the time. A weak beer, and a medium beer, and a strong beer. And the strong beer was reserved for the top of the table when you had guests. And your weak beer would be drank all the time, whether you was a child or your grandma. And of course, I always find it very fascinating that they used to drink it the way of milk. I mean, I think today's terms, if you're making your own cheese, let's say you're lucky you got some sheep, you know, or some cows, or even some goats, and you're making your own cheese, would you want to drink the way of the cheese afterwards? Because it is a product that's generally thrown away. I mean, did they actually use whey of cheese in modern production? I mean, I never gone to Sainsbury's or Tesco's and found a bottle of whey of cheese. But there's a market out there, Viking whey of cheese. You know, just be a white liquid. I imagine it'll go off quickly. So, D-Wise Black Wolf, he says, everything is okay for me now. And he says, I am a Hungarian Viking. Oh, cool. Now, the other day, I got a book on Hungarian folktales, because we're not told any yet. And I do know one folktale about the king in a mountain from Hungary. So we are going to get some Hungarian folktales for you out there on the channel. So watch out for that. And we'll add some more to the collection. You know, we don't want to just stick with Nordic folktales and English folktales. I think probably the most common folktale we've told is an English folktale, as I know so many of them. But yes, we've definitely got to get out some folktales from Hungary and some more French folktales. I got a book on French folktales the other day. And the other day I bought 2 books on Greek folktales. So watch out for them. So Andre says, good, love Hungary. I only went there once, but Bucharest was beautiful. It sure is a beautiful place. And I met 1 or 2 Hungarians in my time. Very nice, welcoming people. So you're very welcome on the channel. Do you have any Viking societies in Hungary? I bet you do. I mean, I saw the other day on Instagram that there's a Japanese Viking society because they put up some picture of some very nice cakes. and I said they look yummy. So yes, Andre says Romanian folktales are interesting. Yes, we'll definitely get some of them on the channel. Eventually we want to go all over the world and definitely tell some Japanese folktales and some Asian folktales. It's going to be interesting learning some of the names. We'll have to have them written down in front of us so you can't say them off camera. But we've all promised to tell some folktales, some Hungarian, definitely some Romanian folktales. But we've got so many planned to tell, and I'm currently learning some more at the moment. I learnt one the other day, an English folktale called The Two Ghosts. Well, it's actually Scottish. But I won't give it a spoiler yet, so I've not recorded it, and I've not quite got it in my mind yet. I've got the basic story of it, but I'm going to make it a little bit more dark agey. Because in the original folktale, the guy's called John. There's two brothers. One of them's kind of a wise brother, and the other one's a bit of a drinker and goes out spending his coin and drinking all the time. And, you know, his mother and oldest son are saying, well, you know, what can we do about John? He's always going out drinking. So I'm going to change the name, give him a good Viking name. I'm thinking about two brothers called Thurbert and Thorgrim. And Thorgrim being the drinker. And it's kind of a cautionary tale and how they're going to try to stop him from drinking. I won't give any more of that away. So, Deri's Black Wolfie, Budapest is the capital of Hungary. Bucharest is the capital of Romania. Good vibes. Oh, cool. Yeah, one day we're going to do a world tour. We'll definitely go to Hungary and do a meet-up. Meet fellow Hungarian Vikings and tell you some folk tales. And talk about Viking history. So I think that would be very cool. I don't think Egil's had a holiday since the 1970s, from what he said. That was the last time Egil Thorsson played on a computer game in about 1978. So I keep thinking about finding some games and putting him in on some games on my Xbox and record him somehow. I think that would be hilarious. Because you know you're going to lose it, you know. You'll go mad. Put him on, you know, some of the Call of Duty games. So he's Deri's Black Wolfie says, where are you guys from? Well, we're from England, and we're right in the middle of England in a city called Derby. And when the Anglo Saxons were here, they called it Northworthy, which is where we got the name from. A bit like Northwick, North Market, a kind of a meeting place for Anglo Saxons. Although to be fair, we're in the Midlands, not up north. But if you're above London, so as far as I'm concerned, you're up north. Nothing like Southerners, eh? No offence to Eric being a Southerner. But then again, my fellow host, Egil, is from Kent, so he's a Southerner too. And he moved to Derby about 25 years ago, I think. So, so Andre says, sorry, my mistake, I'm tired today. Well, nothing like tiredness, is there? I mean, I'm very used to being tired. If I'm tired tonight, I won't do a live stream, but I'm feeling okay so far today. I've had a good amount of sleep last night, which is a rarity for me. I don't know, I seem to have a habit of getting about 5 hours to 6 hours and not getting any more. So, Deri's Black Wolfie, it's okay. Elbow cough, elbow cough. Eric, many answers. Bah, it's okay, I forgive you, brother. Ha ha. Now, Andre Linar said, where in Kent is Egil from? Now, I asked him this, but I can't remember now. Name me some places in Kent, it might pop in my mind. But I think you asked me before, and I left it in a comment when somebody asked me where Egil's from. I think it was you, Andre. Places in Kent. It's not a county I've been to often. I know they make wonderful beer there. The bitter in Kent is fantastic. But then again, so is Sussex beer and beer from Norfolk. But I think beer from anywhere is nice, to be honest with you. You know, beer's just nice. So I can't quite remember where Egil's from. I would send him a message, but I'm using my phone. So it'll come back to me in a minute. Canterbury Ashford? No, I don't think he's from there. He was born in one place and he spent a lot of his childhood in another place. Because his family, they had a big manor house. Because he can go back in his family history to about 600-700 AD. He's got a very long history in his family. They've all been bishops. I think one of them owned Ireland at one point. But he doesn't like talking about that. Various reasons. So Panada says, oh, Northworthy Sagas and Stories, I'm back. Just peeled the potatoes. I'm having English today. Homemade egg and chips. Yes, I do take honey and it helps as I cannot take tablets for the pollen. Yes, well, honey is a natural solution to if you've got hay fever. Maidstone, yes, it could be from Maidstone. I think it may have been born in Maidstone. But it's one of those things I can't remember at the moment. So Panada says, wow, 40-year-old mead. Now that would help my pollen. It sure would. I got 4 gallons of it, so it would help for a long time. I mean, you can't buy that, could you? 40-year-old mead. My dad made it in about 1977-78. So it's pretty older than 40 years old now. So I know I took some on camp. I took a demijohn, a gallon, when the Civil War Society celebrated 40 years. And people just followed me around because it was so good. So, Dewey's Black Wolfie says, is anyone, so I'll start again, is everyone hyped for Assassin's Creed Valhalla? Yeah, it does look good. I've never really been a massive fan of the Assassin's Creed games because I think they're in third person. I've always been a first person player. But I was thinking about when Egil come back to do some filming and looking for a couple of trailers from it and perhaps review them for you. Because I think that'll be in topic and trending at the moment. So hopefully within about 3 weeks we can get back to filming because we're meant to be in lockdown for 3 months and we're not far from finishing that. So watch out. I think that would be a cool thing to review. Whether we play the game is another thing. I kind of got out of the habit of making gaming content and I do have lots of videos I never finished editing for more manner of games. So Devise says, I'm a huge fan of FPR Honor 2, if you know that game. I've got to go for a minute, hang on a second. Yeah. You shout me. Is it time to go? Yeah. Oh, right. I'll be down in a few minutes. I'll come down at 1:15. I'm back. I'm sorry about that. I'm just the carer. I've a carer in 3 afternoons a week to give me time off. Just let me know that my dad's ate his dinner. Always good. My dad's 88 years old, so he's really old. So Sweden, says Pernilla. Oh yes, excellent country. I mean, I was reading the other day that, you know, the Swedes didn't really come to England too much. Certainly under Canute they came and they joined his army there. But I was reading some history about it. I was reading a book called Viking Age England by, I think it was one of Egil's former lecturers. But I've got his name at the moment. D. Richards. I think it's his name. I forget. I got too many names in my head. So Dewey says, type wrong. Oh, we always type things wrong. Andre says, when it comes to gaming, I'm a bit like Egil. Oh yeah, I mean, I do have an Xbox. I've been into gaming since probably Doom, the first game came out. That's when I had a PC back in about 94, 95. And I was getting over one of my first relationships, and playing Doom and buying a PC was a great solution to that. And what a great game series Doom was. But I kind of left PC gaming in the late 90s and got a PlayStation 1. Then I had a PlayStation 2. This is my back history of gaming. And then I left PlayStation for an Xbox because all my friends were on Xbox. But why is it whenever you talk and meet a friend, they're always on PlayStation? They're always on the opposite system you have. Although, yes, now they're more compatible. But I don't often get a chance to game. And I tend to use my Xbox just to watch TV more than anything else. So, DeWise Wolfie, I've also visited... No, that's not his comment. So Andre says, I also visited Budapest. I've not been Budapest. I'd like to go one day. And DeWise Black Wolfie says, how was it? And Andre Linard says that was the city I was thinking of when I said it was beautiful. Bucharest was just hot, dusty, and not very pleasant. Now, I was thinking about history here, and wasn't Bucharest or Budapest knocked down by the Nazis and rebuilt after the war? Pretty much how it was. I think I saw a documentary a few months ago and I thought that was fascinating, but I may be wrong there. I may be thinking of a complete different capital city. It's a problem when you know a lot of history, you often have too many things in your head. So I've got about another 10 minutes and I'm going to have to go then. So, but I've got to continue taking care of my dad and I've got to get my own dinner. So another 10 minutes of Bragi and yourself. So it's been wonderful being here as always. And I will make this one private in public. Get my words wrong there. I'm not the only one to get the words wrong. Later on today or tomorrow what happens when you do a live stream? When you end the live stream, when I eventually figure that out, what happens is YouTube then process that video for you, and then at some point you'll have a message saying your video has now been processed and you can make it public. Some days it can take a few hours and some days it can take a few days. And I've also read accounts of people that it can take forever and they never get processed. But it's not, I used to do lots of live streaming on Mixer, and often that you do a live stream, because that's how I used to make my gaming content. I would record an episode, do the commentary at the same time, and then wait for the video to show up, and then download it and edit it. But often, you're doing a gameplay series, and you're on episode 25, the video won't show up. I think Mixer is a lot better now for showing up your videos. Then you have to go and re-record it again and go back in your game. I used to find that quite annoying. So, to devise Black Wolfie, Andre Linard, where are you from? Andre Linard says Margate, UK. I've been to Margate. Nice place on the coast. Yes, anywhere on the coast is nice to be. I mean, in Derby we're very much landlocked. In fact, we used to have a pirate association and society called the Derby Landlocked Pirate Group or Society, because we're basically landlocked. We couldn't be so far from the coast over here. We were right bang in the middle of England, so there is no coast. Yes, I have to go in 10 minutes because I have to get changed. I don't like letting carers know that I dress as a Viking. Although I generally do talk about it a lot. On a couple of occasions I have scared a couple of the carers. I think one time I had my medieval mace. Here we go. I had this little beauty and it was all rusty. All this was rusty. I was like, how? And I was sitting in the kitchen with some paper on the table and I was scrubbing it along with a wire brush, and the carer came a bit early. I let her in and she looked at the thing. I said, what's that? I said, it's a medieval mace. I said, don't you have a medieval mace? I said, no. I said, don't you have a massive war chest full of weapons in your house? She said, no. Oh, so that's a bit odd, isn't it? So she kind of went a bit white with fright, and then I explained what I did for a living and what I do on YouTube. But I think we're going to have to demonstrate using that on camera. I'll give you a close-up. But it is a bit of a heavy beast, and this is one of those weapons which you've got to be very careful with because you will break someone's leg an arm with that, or fingers. Fingers are normally the ones that get hurt the most if you don't have a decent pair of armoured gloves. And it does make you think, did they have armoured gloves in those days? Some people say, well, they didn't. I tend to think they probably would have, but yet again, it's one of those finds which don't survive in the grave. So, devise Black Wolfie, nice. You got this, I've been to the UK once, it was beautiful. Yeah, it is a very beautiful country, it's very diverse as well. Every county is different. I often think Derbyshire, the county I come from, is the best county in England, but I'm bound to say that. It's a very diverse county, very flat and in the lowlands, and very moory and hilly in the upper Derbyshire. Of course, Derbyshire's famed for the Peak District National Park. One day we'll go about and we'll do some filming at locations, because there's lots of old prehistoric and Iron Age sites, Bronze Age. So, hi Rick, the many axes. I'm in Greenwich, so right next to the Thames. Have you ever been mudlarking? Although you do need to have a licence to go mudlarking. And I watched a few videos of people going mudlarking. Now, if you don't know what mudlarking is, it's where you can go along the river's edge and you can go and look for things, but you're not allowed to dig very far, and you've got to have a licence in London to do it. But there are one or two channels out there that do show you mudlarking. Can't name any because I can't remember. So Andre says, Austria was one of my favourite countries to visit. So clean and green. Been there many times. Vienna is lovely too. I don't think I've ever been to Austria. I've been to lots of places. I used to be a part of a Adventure Scout unit. When I left the Scouts, when I was about 15, I joined the local Adventure Scout unit where I live in Alistry. And that's called the Vikings Adventure Scout unit. So I was a Viking then. And I used to be into rock climbing and caving. And I was an instructor for both. So I have been all over Europe, caving and rock climbing, but never got to Austria to do that. I imagine you've got some lovely caves over there and some big cliffs. So, Andre, I speak some German, but it's been many years. Yes, I often say good night to my father in German. I go, good night, mein Vater. Good night, my father. But, you know, I barely struggle to speak English some days, so language is always a difficult thing for me. I keep trying to learn more, you know, old English, but, well, you know, it takes a long time to get there. And if you do want to go and learn some Old English, then I do recommend checking out Learning Old English. There's a guy called Kevin, or Sevin. He's a fantastic YouTuber, and he'll teach you how to speak Old English. So, Deri's Black Wolf is, I love the Austrian food. Oh, I love any food, but certainly food in Europe is very nice. So much different to English food as well. But then again, you can't beat fish and chips and a nice fried breakfast. So, Andre Leonard, me too. I miss going there. Yes, well, we have to get some long ships made and then we could sell to some of these places and recruit a crew. And of course, the more long ships we have, the better it's going to be. You know, I think that would be awesome, don't you? If we've got 100 groups making 100 long ships, and we'll wait for a very nice day and then sail over to France, so then we can go up a few rivers and perhaps sail up, go to Sweden, Norway, and go and sail up the rivers into Russia. You know, that would be a dream for me come true, that would. You know, we could film the whole journey, visit all these wonderful places. You know, it could be the second Viking age, you know. But wouldn't that be wonderful? Oh, probably about the pillaging and so forth. Not very politically correct now. So, Deri's Black Wolfie, in German, if you want to say 8, you say 8. In Austrian, you say 8. It's kind of difficult accent thingy. Oh yes, but a lot of the European languages are very close and similar. I mean, a lot of it will go back to Proto-Germanic, you know. And language is a wonderful thing. I mean, etymology, the study of words, I find fascinating. Just over there on the shelf, I've got a book on etymology, studying the words of English, and I do find it a fascinating book to pick up and just go and read for a little bit. So I'm going to take my bag off. I've already got to start getting unready. So this is a bag I bought off eBay. What's in it? I don't know. Oh, it's got some leather patterns. There's a rectangular pattern for a pouch. Bit of a re-enactorism, but I imagine they had stuff like that. These make fantastic mobile phone holders. A round pouch, which has been made, punched. You always got to get the holes an odd number, so when you thread your leather thong through, you got two that come out the same in the end, if I recall. Could be wrong there. I think this is a bag full of leather things. There's another one. It's funny what I got. Some pigskin. That's another round bag. This has got a slitted form of and a hole punch form. These are ideal for putting your coins in the Dark Ages. And then another one which is kind of half finished. Another one. I've got so many leather patterns and leather projects I never finished. I used to sell rectangular pouches on Etsy at one point, but you know, you only get a £5 for them, and you kind of thought, well, it's not worth the leather and the cost of your time doing them. It's a bit of a kind of a canvas bag. This is kind of a bit of a nice design linen. Used to keep coffee beans in that. Not for this period, but for the Civil War. Another linen bag, but you need lots of these bags to put your stuff in. You know, you put your bracelets in them and your coins. There's a leather bag which has been formed. There's a bead on it. There's an art form to making these bags. But I also got, oh, it's another rectangular leather bag I need to, or pouch, I need to unsew because I machine stitched that and it's wrong. Bad braggy. There was another one, little round bag. These are ideal for putting your little coins in, little fines. Any more comments? So Eirik, the man of many axes, I'm up for building a longship. Oh yes, I think if you go and volunteer at the Longship Museum in Denmark for like 3 months, they'll teach you all that. You just got to have the money to go and live there. Another one. Right, if you come up, I'll give you some of these leather bags, Eirik. There's more of a finished rectangular bag with kind of a nice sewing on the outside. I just got to punch along the holes now and put a thong through. You can hang it off your belt or put it in your pouch. This must be a bag full of leather. Oh, this is my bag full of coins. That's the sound of coins in there, authentic noise. You know, you go back 1200 years, there'll be old Eirik with his little coin sack, and you know, going along and squashing it. And they are authentic coins. And that's that leather bag. It's got a bit of embroidery on it. Probably been machine stitched, but still, I feel you agree, it's quite nice. And it's got a nice stain, authentic. So I'm taking my belt off now. I'm not stripping on camera, I promise you that. I'm taking my belt off now. Because I dropped something. Oh, my axe. Yeah, so remember, when you take your belt off, take your axe out first, the back, or you're going to drop on the floor. You should have more respect for your tools. And this is my current belt rig. So I've got a very big pouch. I've got a V-base. It's slightly more medievalish than the Viking period, but you'll get away with it. And of course my seax and my sharp seax for eating. And that silver thing there, you can see it, it's what you call a toilet set. Now a toilet set, as we're going to end the stream in a minute, I'll finish on this, is what you use to clean your nails out. You got a little nail file one. I can do my nails on camp, and because Vikings were very tidy people and used to be very clean. And then you got a pair of tweezers. So you can see that this is all silver. Got given this. And then the last one is a little scoop. Now you can scoop out your ears, get the wax out, or your nose, or another area of your body, but you don't want to be green. So that's that. So Andre says, I tried Dutch but was told not to bother because it sounded terrible. Yeah, it's funny how English people go abroad and they kind of speak kind of a broken English, you know, foreign accent. It's always very funny when people do that. So anyway, I hope you like this live stream. I'm going to have to go in a minute, like I said. I've got to let the carer out, and I don't particularly want to see me dressed as a Viking as I take off my silver bracelet. I'll show you that before I go. This just shows you Wolfoff. It's got 2 designs of animal heads. Animal head was a very common theme that focuses, and it's got the old silver knitted wire, but it's very flexible, as you can see. You know, that's probably 5 or 6 ounces of silver there. So, your eyes, the Black Wolfie, bye. Yes, I may try to pop on later on tonight, so watch out for a notification. Do you guys want me to do a live stream later? I think I'll be up for it. I'll see how my voice goes if I don't get tired in the next couple of hours. So we'll see. And I'm going to try to figure out now how to end this live stream. I may still be live streaming right now as I try to end it. I've got to go into this. It may still be streaming now. I'll put you back again now. I'll stop.